Okay. Hey, Dr. Cindy, how are you?
I'm so good, Douglas. Great to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Nice to see you. Nice to have you with us. So, First Lady of Sales, that's what it says right at the top of your bio. And I see your book there, Sell Yourself. Is this a book, because there's a lot of books out there, let's be honest, there's a lot of books about marketing and branding and all of this. And branding is a fairly new word. We didn't have that word when I was a kid. If somebody said brand, it meant Coca-Cola, right? But now people can be a brand. Anything can be a brand, whatever you want it to be, right? Is this book specific to one type of application, or can anyone use it for whatever it is they're doing?
My goal in writing this book was to help anyone to recognize that they already have a brand, whether they realize it or not. Because, like you just said, brands used to be things, not people. And as we've moved into this space where brands are absolutely people and people are recognizing it as such, and we have influencers on the internet and all sorts of things like that. But even regular folks have a brand that they're selling to other people every day, all day to establish credibility. So if you're going to sell, might as well do it on purpose.
Would my show be a brand?
Absolutely.
Okay, but not myself. It's my show.
You are also a brand. They're two different things, and I think that's where people get confused. Your company or your product or your service is different than you, even though it's named after you and it's you and it's definitely your heart and your soul. But people can love a brand and not trust the person that's selling it. People can love the person and not love the brand. So just like anybody selling, a car, you love the car salesperson, but you don't like the car itself. So people need to recognize that you're selling both things, and yours are very much in harmony with one another too.
Well, true. I mean, if you're doing a talk show and you hate the host, you're not going to watch the show.
Exactly.
That pretty much goes together. On the other
Yeah.
hand, you can love an actor, but not necessarily like maybe their political views, or they act like an idiot when they're on the red carpet or something. But once they do their job as that character, you can think, wow, that was amazing. There's a few of those out there I would put in that category for me. Definitely.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect example of how your brand is not the product.
The book is designed essentially for anybody. Who is your, I don't know, maybe this is a hard question to answer, but who would be your number one customer? Who's buying your book?
So I wrote this book particularly because of the Great Resignation and all the changes that had happened in the world over the last couple of years at the time we're recording this interview. And people went through the Great Resignation, then we went through the Great Regret or the Great Remorse, then the Great Reset. I actually believe the next phase is going to be the Great Rebrand, because whether you move jobs or not, the world is different around us. So the way we're interacting with each other is different. The way that we're selling ourselves is different. And so I wanted people to recognize the opportunity that this change in our global world represented, and that they could actually use this to their advantage to get closer to achieving their goals.
Before we got on, we had mentioned remote working and how this really took off during COVID. And we both kind of laughed because you and I have both been working remotely for years. The benefits to working remotely are obvious. You don't have to commute. The company, if your company can go completely remote, you don't need a building. You don't need an office. You don't have to spend for real estate. The environmental factors, less cars on the road, all of that. Do you see any disadvantage to working remotely?
So it's funny that you asked this, and we were chuckling about this because when everybody else went remote, you and I were both like, okay, what do you want to know? Because we
Right.
we knew how to do it. But it was also very intentional, the way that you and I created our organizations and the way that we work with our teammates. And I think that's where people are struggling is you've got to have a different type of leadership and different leadership skills to be able to maintain a company culture when it is remote or hybrid. And it's a lot more communication. It's a lot more proactive communication. You have to create what we call the virtual water cooler because you're missing those just goofy conversations by the water cooler about somebody's shoes. And so to create that company culture that really boosts that feeling of stickiness that your teammates want to stay working there, you really got to put some effort behind that. And that's a different style of leadership that is required to do it.
Okay, so your company, what is the name of your company?
Orange Leaf Consulting.
Okay, and what do you do exactly?
We work with companies to help them grow their business. So we go in and basically believe that every job is a sales job. So we teach all of your folks how to be amazing salespeople in every interaction that they're having, whether it's with a colleague, whether it's with a client, whether it's with a potential client. And we create a lasting trajectory for that. So we get in, we fix it, and we get out.
Okay, so you're the CEO, founder
Not
CEO?
necessarily. Not necessarily, I'm the CEO of that, but when we go into the companies, what we really want to make sure is their leadership is leading. And so that's where we're a little bit different than other consulting companies, is we want to make sure their leadership is in place and can do what we do once we're long gone.
Okay, but we had mentioned that your company is completely remote. You're remote
Yeah.
with your other people in your company, not with the
Yep.
company you would go into.
We are actually remote with our clients as well. A lot of times we have clients we've never even met face to face.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you would just set up a conference call with them. How many people do you have working for you in your company?
We have 9 people on our team.
9 people. Okay. And what do they all do?
We wear a lot of hats being a smaller organization. So we also have Orange Leaf Academy, which is an online, basically university where we teach our skills as well to people who can't hire our services, or their team is of a size that it wouldn't make sense. So we've got some people that run the academy. We've got some people that are doing content development. We have some coaches. We have some support team, a little bit of everything. But I would say that every person here would say they wear multiple hats, and we all do.
Okay. How long have you been doing this? How long have you had your company?
14 years.
14 years. Oh, a long time. Okay. Is there one particular thing that you notice coming up over and over again when you go to these various companies and try to fix their issues? Do you find that there's like one issue that's the same a lot of the times?
Yeah, it's the fact that people don't like sales. And we all have to realize that none of us have a job to go to tomorrow unless somebody made a sale somewhere. So it's an ick factor that we have to overcome with just about every client we go into, and that everybody is selling, whether they realize it or not.
It's like the dentist. Yeah.
I would hope not.
Well, I mean, the ick factor, when you said that, I thought of the dentist. Okay, nobody
Yeah.
wants to go to the dentist. But if you don't go, your teeth rot and fall out, and, so it's sort of like you have to do it. Again, with sales, people, they have to sell or there's no nothing, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you make sales like a nice, friendly word rather than a dirty word?
So it's very funny that you asked that question, because when my first book had come out, that was literally my mission, is to take sales out of the boardroom, put it in the classroom. I don't believe it's a business skill. I think it's a life skill. And I think we should have all been taught it in high school, because we're all doing it. And so part of the way that I approach sales is the way that I sell myself. And the funny thing is, I'm known as the first lady of sales now. I never wanted to be in sales. So go figure. And when I got put into a sales role, what happened is I realized I'd actually been selling my whole life. I just didn't call it sales. I called it helping people. I called it convincing someone. I called it getting collaboration, getting support, getting buy-in from my colleagues. That's the kind of sales that I think we do. And that's the lasting kind of sale that I want to teach and that I promote. I don't teach transactional sales necessarily. I don't believe in manipulation. I don't believe in stretching the truth. I believe uncover a need. If we have a solution, we'll provide it. And people do that all day, every day. They just call it problem solving. So I help people to tap into what they're already doing successfully as a salesperson and bring it into their workspace. And at the worst case scenario, if somebody still kicks and screams, I remind them that they were once 5 years old, and 5-year-olds are the best salespeople on the planet. So they were a salesperson at some point in their life. Let's just tap back into that 5-year-old.
Oh, well, I would agree with you on that. The other thing is that there is the parallel that we were talking about, where you can hate a particular actor's personality or personal political views or whatever, but love their work. Similarly, with the salesperson, you might not like their tactic, but you like their product. On the other hand, you can love the salesperson and not buy anything because the product that they're selling is something you're not interested in. I think we've all run into the cliche high pressure used car salesman. Is there a benefit to that style of sales?
I mean, clearly it works or they wouldn't still be doing it,
Yeah.
obviously, but it's very transactional in nature. It's a one and done kind of sale. So if you don't care about a lasting conversation or relationship, you don't care about repeat business, and you don't care that that person is going to walk away feeling like they were pressured and not having a great experience and not wanting to tell a good story about you, then by all means use that tactic. But I don't think in today's global economy and how I can literally tell the entire Twitterverse in 30 seconds on my smartphone how I feel about something, that those tactics work terribly well anymore.
Okay. You brought up Twitter, and I was going to go there. So you've presumpted
Oh
me,
boy.
not Twitter necessarily, but online. It's a different world to navigate online marketing. And I know we go through this with the show. The last statistic we saw was 3.8 million registered podcasts on Listen Notes. And to be honest, a lot of them don't belong there. They're not good. It's not good quality. They've got a host of problems, along with the host being a problem. How do you get your head above the water online? Social media is great, but it's not the cure-all.
So the difference between marketing and sales is really important here because I'm sales, not marketing.
Okay.
And people confuse the two, right? So social media marketing is that branding piece. It's getting you the at bat. I'm when you swing the bat. So what we do is we help you with the interaction with the human being on the other side. So the social media piece is absolutely important. I'm on social media, you're on social media, like we have to be these days because that's how we attract business and how we can interact with our folks and our communities. But where people forget is just posting is not enough. It's not about the post, it's about the interaction. It's not about the message, it's about how the impact of the message lands. And so that's where it becomes a sales piece, not just a marketing piece.
Okay, so the posting is the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
The interaction is the sales. It's an interesting idea because I don't do very much interaction on social media unless it's my personal friends or something like that. But I know that there are a lot of shows that they have contests, they have this. They are talking with the audience constantly, and it's not something I'm very good at. I was thinking to hire somebody else to do it, but the problem is they'll know it's not your voice.
That's right. It has to be you.
Yeah. So I think that's
when you and I are the brand, it's got to be us.
Yeah. So I think that's one of my shortcomings with this whole thing is that I don't do that enough to drum up the business probably that we should have. And I don't know how to get over it. Perhaps I should read your book. Maybe that would help me. Any advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's about the goals that you have, though. So really, when you're selling yourself all day, every day. Yes, you're selling a podcast, but you're really selling you. You're selling Douglas Coleman. So when you're doing that and you're interacting with people, what is the impression you want them to have after they've interacted with you? And when clients of ours will say, oh, we have to be posting on Instagram, we have to be posting on whatever platform, my question is, why do you want to post? What do you hope to accomplish with that post? Because I believe that the post is this generation's billboard on the side of the road. It doesn't do anything other than create awareness, right? So if you're looking to create awareness, that's fantastic. But then there has to be a second step there where you start to interact. And it's funny because my new book that just came out, that's literally why I wrote it, because you even said there's tons of books on branding. There's tons of books on even personal branding now. In the last about 12 years, it's become in vogue. But where they all stop is at the brand. Nobody teaches you how to sell it. Nobody teaches you the human interaction aspect where you're selling it already, but is it with intention? Is it on purpose? How is the message landing? How are you getting feedback and tweaking it so that you can make sure you're creating those advocates, building your network to help you reach your goals?
Interesting. I think I've learned something today. We're great at step one and we have done nothing on step two.
Well, if we were all perfect, what in the world would we strive for, right?
Well, it'd be time to give it up, I think, at that point. There's got to be a goal. There's got to be a challenge, right, to this whole thing. Dr. Cindy, we have to wrap this up. We are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a most pleasurable conversation. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. drcindy.com, drcindy.com, or sellyourselfbook.com. You can find me on both of them. I will answer the emails. I will answer the messages.
Okay, and the book is out and available now everywhere? Yeah.
Everywhere, wherever books are sold.
Terrific. Well, thank you again for coming on. Nice meeting you.
Thank you for having me.
Best of
Great
luck.
pleasure.